The economic consequences of the president's reckless economic policies over the last year are coming home to roost. All the economic numbers are out yesterday, and they show that we are going rapidly in the wrong direction. And I'm going to give you a brief rundown on the numbers in just a minute, and we'll see how it all ties back to Trump's erratic behavior and reckless decisions that he's made over the last year. And at the end, we'll take a look at how it ties into his corruption and how he's profiting off of all of this. But first, welcome to day 63 and week 10 of the 4-week war. Today marks the start of the 10th week of the Iran war. Oh, but wait, there's big news, big announcement. The president announced yesterday that the war with Iran is over. It's peace and love, everybody. Peace and love. It's going to be great. Going to be great. We're all hugging and celebrating. And the Iranians, you see them celebrating in the streets because they know it's really over this time. But somehow we're still cut off from Middle Eastern oil, and the Strait of Hormuz is still double blockaded. We're blockading their blockade. And how is that supposed to open up shipping in the Persian Gulf? I still haven't figured that one out. But that, of course, was his weekly Friday attempt to mask all the bad news with a dose of good fake news before the weekend. And in the last couple of months, when he's done this Friday fake news, fake good news thing, it's actually worked and the markets have jumped, but not this time. This time, the Dow closed down 152 points. Didn't work, didn't work. The S&P barely moved up, just a quarter of a point. The Nasdaq was up almost a full point, and most all of that gain was Apple beating earnings expectations. Strip Apple out, and the Nasdaq was flat. The president said the war is over, and this time the market shrugged. The magic is gone. But why now? Because the real economy is really sick. It's too sick to celebrate fake good news. It's not going to do it anymore. So let's talk about what's happening in the economy. But first, I'm Jonathan Burton, and I was a lifelong conservative Republican until Trump came along. Before Trump, I was very active in the Tea Party movement, developed a fairly large following back then. But the closer I got to the movement, the more I started to see the disturbing signs of what we now see in the full-fledged MAGA movement, and I just couldn't be a part of it. So here I am in the odd position that I still haven't quite gotten used to the feeling of, but of supporting Democrats. I don't agree with you guys on some things, but I agree with you on a lot more than I used to think I did. And I agree with you on the main things, on the really big things. And I find you guys aren't so bad after all. So, all right, let's take a look at what Trump's economic numbers said this week, and it's not good. First, on inflation, the government released the personal consumption expenditures report. That's the inflation gauge that the Federal Reserve actually uses, and it showed a 3.5% annual inflation rate as of last month, and the Fed's target is 2%. So if you look at the blue line here, that's the Fed's inflation numbers over the last year, which includes food and energy, and it's showing a 3.5 jump last month. The red line shows a 3.2% increase with food and energy taken out. So you can see that even without the spike in gas prices, core inflation was still very high at 3.2%. At the bottom of the chart, you can see a green band. That's the 2% level the Fed is targeting. That's what they want to see before they can even begin to think of bringing interest rates down. But we're 75% above that right now. So that's 75% above where they want us to be. If gas prices were to go back down tomorrow to what they were before the war, we'd still have a very serious inflation problem. Manufacturing. Yesterday, the Institute for Supply Management, the trade group that surveys factory purchasing managers every month to gauge future manufacturing activity, they put out their report and it came in below what economists were expecting. The production index dropped. The factories aren't humming anymore. They're sputtering. And this is what a sick economy looks like. And where it gets even worse, because the president who told us yesterday that the war is over and the economy is great, was on that same day raising taxes on us through a tariff, a new tariff. He never calls it a tax, It's a tariff in his mind, but he put a 25% tariff on European-made cars. So next week, when you go to look at a BMW or a Mercedes or a Volkswagen Jetta or an Audi or Volvo, they're going up. And they're not just going up by a few $100s, but by a few thousand. Think about this. A $50,000 car with a 25% tariff is now going to be $62,500. That's a $12,000 plus increase in cost. And guess what that does? A little Econ 101 here. That lessens the competitive pricing pressures on all the other car makers, and they can move their prices up a little bit too. I mean, think about it. If you're Hyundai and you're selling your luxury car that competes with, say, Audi or BMW or something, and it's at basically the same price, you charge 50,000, they charge 50,000. Now they got to charge 62,000. What are you going to do? You're not going to lower your prices. You're going to raise them. Maybe you'll raise them up to 58,000, maybe 60,000. And then, negotiate a deal with the customer, bring it down to 58,000, make them feel like they got a great deal, and you're $8,000 ahead of the game. That's how tariffs cause inflation to go up, and that's why our inflation right now is way above what it should be. Tariffs don't work. They're not going to bring manufacturing jobs back, and they're certainly not going to lower prices. And that's why inflation is now above where it was when Biden left office. Biden left us in really good shape, actually. And this is another thing I'm having a little trouble with, transitioning to another party after a lifetime as a Republican. I don't know much about the Democratic Party. I know where the candidates stand on issues, but other than that, all the internal things, I don't know much about that. I don't understand why Democrats didn't like Biden more. I thought he was a pretty decent president. I mean, he was very competent and he did a very good job. And certainly compared to what we have now, he was amazing. So no comparison there. But there's no one MAGA can blame for these economic results, the inflation, the lack of a manufacturing boom, all that. There's no one else they can blame except the erratic occupant of the White House. His economic policies, if you want to call them that, aren't going to bring, they're not only not going to bring manufacturing jobs back, they're directly responsible this weekend for the loss of 11,000 jobs at Spirit Airlines. Spirit Air closed their doors for the final time this morning at 3 o'clock, 3 a.m. this morning. That's roughly 11,000 American jobs lost in a single day from a single company, and it's directly attributable to the warmonger in the White House. Spirit was already struggling. They'd filed for bankruptcy. They were trying to climb out of it, and they had a plan. They had what looked like a workable plan, but the plan was wrecked when jet fuel prices went through the roof. That's what pushed them over the edge. And that's a direct consequence of the war of choice the 49% winner of the last presidential election decided to start. And just like the tariffs on European cars will incentivize other car makers to raise their prices, not lower them, the bankruptcy of low cost Spirit Air and their removal from the pool of airline competitors will make it easier for other airlines to raise their prices, not lower them. And summer travel, forget about it. It's going to be through the roof. Axios reported yesterday that the war is hitting flights, jet fuel, and hotels. That family vacation that ran you around $3,000 last summer, it's going to cost you around $4,000 this summer. But whatever the headline is, corruption, the Trump corruption, the family corruption machine, whatever the headline is, war, peace, recession, boom, ceasefire, tariff, bailout, whatever it is, one thing that's a constant in this administration is that the Trump family is going to get richer all the time, no matter what happens. Up, they get richer, down, they get richer, everything. The same week that 11,000 Spirit airline workers are losing their jobs because of jet fuel costs from Trump's war of choice is the exact same week, get this, that Don Jr. and Eric Trump signed a $1 billion drone deal. You want to see what corruption and cashing in on this war looks like with the Trump family? Check this out. Check this out. It's really amazing. The Trump administration bans Chinese drone imports a few months ago. The administration then sets aside $1.1 billion for U.S. drone makers to fill that opening. Then Trump's sons come in and magically come to own shares in and are on the board of a U.S. drone maker called Power Us or Power US. That company is winning contracts from their daddy's Pentagon. How cool is that? And Trump's war with Iran drives demand for drones built specifically to counter Iranian drones. Then we pressure our Middle Eastern allies to buy the drones for their own defense needs from the Trump family's drone company. And their pockets just keep getting fatter and fatter and fatter. A new analysis came out this week. MAGA fans, this is going to hit you hard. MAGA fans, the people who actually believe in this guy, they've lost over $4 billion to crypto scams, a lot of which were tied to Trump affiliated coins. $4 billion out of MAGA pockets and into Trump's pockets. I know, no one's feeling bad for him. But heads, they win. Tails, you lose. Basically, if you live in a country that's run by Trumps and you're not a Trump, you're going to lose no matter where you're at, unless you're a billionaire. All right, that's it for me. I'm Jonathan Burton, but just ask yourself, if you're upset over Hunter Biden, MAGA, you MAGA people, let's get honest. If you're upset over Hunter Biden making $4 million from Burisma over the 8 years his daddy was in office, why are you not 10 times angrier over the Trump boys getting billions of dollars in a single year when their daddy's in office? All right, keep it honest out there. I'm Jonathan Burton. Let me get out of here. I got to get out of here. Take care.